Greetings and welcome to the first Emerging Tech Talk episode for 2009. I'm your host, Dan York, and I hope you all had a great holiday season. I'm looking forward throughout this year in bringing you stories around this communication revolution that's unfolding all around us. Now, 2009 got off to an interesting start within the voice over IP or communications part of the blogosphere with a whole round of introspection or navel-gazing, as some would say, that traditionally happens around this time of year. In this case, it got started off with a post from my good friend Alex Saunders up in Ottawa. And, we'll give him a bit of a benefit of the doubt. His hockey team's not doing too well. So, in any event, he decided to put up a post about VoIP is dead. The VoIP industry is dead. Goodbye, ding dong, VoIP is dead. And so on. And many others have piled on there with others saying, no, VoIP is alive, or bringing out Monty Python, bring out your dead, and so on. The truth is, it's a somewhat silly argument in many ways because how do we define VoIP? How do we define voice over IP, VoIP? What is it? And that's the challenge that we get into when we talk about these declarations around VoIP being dead or not. Because there's at least, probably 5 or 6 different definitions of VoIP that I can think of. One is the underlying plumbing. It's SIP, it's the actual transport protocols, or VoIP is the transport. It's that, down at the base level. And plumbing's not sexy or exciting, but it's out there and it's part of what's going on. Others, though, say that no, VoIP is the whole vision. It's the end-to-end communication vision from the very bottom level all the way up through voice, into video, into rich communication of voice, video, file sharing, IM, presence, all of that. That's VoIP to some people. Still, to others, VoIP is the consumer services like Vonage, the pure play services that we're just aiming for PSTN line replacement. And so, and yes, that part of the industry certainly is dead or dying, largely because of all the other parts that I'm talking about here. Still others, when I ask them about VoIP, they've said, first of all, I don't know what the term is, but then when you say voice over the internet or something, they're like, oh, you mean that Skype thing, right? And for many, that's VoIP. And Skype's certainly alive and kicking pretty well with typically around 15 million people online and growing on all of that. Then others, though, talk about enterprise systems as VoIP. And there's a lot of truth there. Find me a vendor who's still shipping exclusively TDM PBXs. There aren't a whole lot of them, if any, left around. Most folks these days, most all IP PBXs are exactly that, IP. Most phone systems going into companies are all IP from the get-go. Now, some of them are hybrid systems, and the whole PBX space is being squeezed as well by the hosted environment, where people are pushing voice out into the cloud and working from there, or also from the more software-oriented side, where voice is just being treated as another part of typical back office server environments. So there's a lot of different pieces there, but that's another element of VoIP. I've heard somebody else tell me VoIP is all about calling cards, which, of course, they are running voice over IP on the back end and the carrier side of all of that. So what is VoIP? How do you define VoIP? Before we can talk about whether it's dead or alive, we need to understand what we're talking about. Now, on Alex's point, a lot of what he mentioned was the VoIP industry, the companies that are up to create the VoIP components, I guess you'd say, and the pure plays like Vonage and others who were really looking at PSTN line replacement. In that context, certainly, VoIP is not doing well and dying. Yet in so many other parts of things, what we call voice over IP is certainly alive and well in so many ways. It's fading into the background, really. It is the underlying technology. Now, for those who think of VoIP as the whole thing, the end-to-end vision of a rich communication experience that's far more than we ever had with the PSTN, that vision is very well alive. So anyway, is VoIP dead? Depends upon how you define it. In my mind, the IP communications revolution, whether we call that VoIP, whether we call that unified communications, whether we call that internet communications or IP communications, the net of it is we are moving our communication experience away from the traditional environment into the world of IP. We're moving our voice, we're moving our transport, we're moving our applications, we're moving everything else out onto IP networks, whether they're in our own enterprise or across a hosted environment across the internet. That's happening. Whether you call it VoIP or not doesn't really matter. The reality is that vision is unfolding for IP communications, voice applications, voice services, whatever you want to call it. That's my response to this whole VoIP is dead. Define it for me, and I'll tell you whether it's dead or alive. The reality is, the big end-to-end vision, that's very much alive, very much exploding, and 2009 is going to be a fascinating year for where this all moves. That's all I'll leave you with. Tune in for more episodes coming up soon. Bye for now.